Signer? You sign in?
You need that alone.
You know, did you ever come to the exact same thing?
No, because you only get one chance to log in.
an assistant chief of security, position number Judge Jenkins. I'm sure he's caught in traffic, running a little late. But is Mr. Miles here? Okay, you don't see him. Major Victor, resident minister, if you'll please be there.
Just on the spot.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the dedication. That's great. Thank you for this opportunity we could come, oh God, on this occasion to do the people's business. God, we ask you to bless the commissioners so they might have wisdom to rightly divide those things that need to be divided, so God, because always there's a scarcity of resources, but so many needs to be met. God, we ask you to give them wisdom so that they might be able to decide on those things that need to be decided upon, oh God, so that they might be able to continue to lead this community, oh God, according to your divine and perfect will. God, we ask you to continue to bless each and every one of them, Judge Jenkins, Commissioner Dr. Daniels, Commissioner Cantrell, Commissioner Price, and Commissioner Garcia, Dr. Garcia. God, we ask you to continue to watch over them, bless them, oh God, according to your divine and sovereign will. So as they lead this community, oh God, we ask you to continue to give them courage and give them strength, oh God, to do that which is right in your sight. Always. God, we ask you to continue to bless this county government. God, as we continue to go and actually become the people of God that you want us to be. God, we ask you to continue to watch over us, God, that they might be able to continue to be a blessing, oh God, to those that don't have a voice. Oh God, we ask you to continue to bless them, oh God, and keep them according to your divine and sovereign will. And let it be so. In the name of Christ Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to this session of the Dallas County Commissioners Court. We will be taking those things that are on our posted agenda and on the docket, and then we'll move into the executive session for those things that are allowed by law. Once we finish the posted session, we will go into the briefing session. First on the docket, under G is resolutions. I have the first one, and then Dr. Garcia. I would ask Mr. Walter Jones and his delegation to please come forward. Parkland Hospital. And the reason we had to move it at the time, there are a number of things that are going on today for Mr. Jones, and so we wanted to move this. Since whereas Dallas County is privileged to have a number of outstanding professionals who are well placed to meet the health care, administration, and delivery needs of its citizens through the auspices of the Parkland Health and Hospital System. And whereas Walter B. Jones, Jr., Senior Vice President of Facilities, is one of those exemplary employees having served the Parkland Health and Hospital System since 2003. And whereas Walter B. Jones, Jr. oversees the operation and the management of over 600 employees in the division made up of engineering, planning, design and construction, clinical engineering, environmental services, lending services, real estate, police, environmental safety, and energy, and substantially other departments. And whereas Walter B. Jones has been a frequent and featured speaker on the subject of, quote, the new Parkland, the project, the healthcare design subjects that focus on project management, sustainability, and of technology for the benefit of the philanthropic, civic, and professional audiences. And whereas Walter B. Jones has received numerous awards for planning, design, and development, and most notably was named the 2012 Owner of the Year from the Dallas Society of Marketing Professional Services, in addition to being named a 2012 Minority Business Leader by the Dallas Business Journal. And whereas Walter B. Jones is a member of the American Institute of Architects, the Society of Architects, and holds many other distinguished certifications. And whereas Walter B. Jones also enjoys the wholehearted support of his wife Janice, daughters Amber, and sons Walter III and Evan, who will no doubt play a sustaining role in all of his future endeavors. And whereas Walter B. Jones has been selected to lead the Metro Health Systems Campus Transformation in Cleveland, Ohio, transforming the population management healthy emphasis model into a new Metro Health System campus model, thereby building positive community relationships, advancing the organization's position to drive broader awareness and support for the Metro Health System. Now therefore be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court acknowledges the loss and jubilation. It does hereby congratulate and offer our best wishes to Walter B. Jones, Jr. and his family as he takes on the new role of Vice President of Campus Transformation at the Metro Health System in Cleveland, Ohio. And be it further resolved, with the 11-year investment with Parkland Health and Hospital System, that Walter B. Jones, Jr. be remembered for his work ethic, his business acumen, and his dedication to the citizens of Dallas County, and I so move.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Jones, you want to introduce your delegation and comment? I know you got to get back to a facilities meeting, so I'm sure you had to.
Business goes on, Commissioner.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you very much. Today I have with me my Director of Planning, Design, and Construction, John Wilson, my ever-present, loyal, dedicated, and efficient Executive Assistant, Kim Dean, my supervisor, my report, Dr. Ron Laxton, and my Director of Clinical Engineering, Travis Kubernick. This is part of the support that I've had at this facility as this part of my life, and they have enabled much of what you described there. It has been a privilege and an honor to serve this community in the way that I have been. And I hope I will be back, certainly, to see how it's going, but I hope to certainly hear very good things this time next year about how well one of the largest undertakings that this community has done and Parkland has done in terms of operating and occupying the new facility that will soon be available on Harry Hines. I am extremely grateful for the opportunity that I've had over these past 11 years. It's actually been fun, and I certainly do appreciate being able to take the wealth of knowledge that I have gained here, the support from the county, from you on the bench here, and hope to be able to benefit the Metro Health System in Cleveland in much the same way.
Regardless of what anybody says, Dr. Anderson and I agreed on a whole lot more than we disagreed on, and one of the things we agreed on was when he went to Grady, went to Atlanta, and recruited you, if you'll recall.
Yes.
And we sat down and we met, and I asked you, because Atlanta was considered the Mecca for, I guess, for black people. But anyway, I was wondering, how did you wind up in Dallas? And you said that you felt like that this was your mission call. So we can deal with revisionist history, because every time I hear about something, it's not like I recall it. But nonetheless, you were brought here from New Parkland.
That's correct.
That's the reason you were here.
Yes.
And you and probably over 75% of New Parkland happened under your tutelage and your watch. And I just want to say thank you for that. Number two, that's the reason you're going to Cleveland, to build a New Parkland in Cleveland.
That is also
And I just want to say to Cleveland and the Metro, they made the choice. It's interesting, and I'm not going to get in the weeds, but it's interesting. The person you handed off to was also a competitor for that job. Nobody knows this. I'm just putting it in the record. But nonetheless, they chose the best person. And so I'm glad for Cleveland, and thank you for the citizens of Dallas County. By the way, when you were doing New Parkland, when all those meetings, we were having those roundtable meetings, It was in budget.
Yes, sir.
I know now they'll still say it was in budget because they moved the goal line, but I got it. But thank you very much for all you've done in this community. And Dr. Laxton, anything that you really wanted to add with regards to this?
It's a tremendous loss to Parkland as well as the city. We will mourn that loss also, but we'll also celebrate in Walter's new adventure. And as Commissioner says, the board is meeting now, otherwise they...
So I know, and I appreciate that, and I just want y'all to know, unfortunately, he was the only senior vice president of color. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
I just wanted to add, too, that you will be sorely missed. I've thoroughly enjoyed watching you work and watching the impact on the new Parkland. But now we do have a new place to go visit. We can go see what happens in Cleveland now under your hand.
Be sure to send you an invitation.
But thank you very, very much for what you have given to us.
Our next resolution is from Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Judge, colleagues, members of the audience. I'm very excited about this resolution. And I would like to invite the chair of the Dallas County Child Welfare Board, Ms. Pat Lockhart, and of course, Angela Rivers, the Family Protective Services Community Coordinator, and all the people that are here for this resolution today. I know we have Audrey Moorhead and Ms. Tassie Simos, appointee from District 4, Honorable Joe Wells, who was part of this problem, Madeline Taylor, my good friends of the Oak Cliff Lions Club, the best Oak Cliff Lions Club, so I won't get fined, Daryl Cossey, and some of my colleagues from the past president of the Oak Cliff Lions Club, and some of my fellow Lions members. So thank you all for being here today. As I read the proclamation, you will see some of the pictures about this project, colleagues, members of the audience. It's a project that started about a year ago, and it seems like it just took fire. And now we have the new visitations room projects that really are, I believe, an amazing project. So the resolution reads as follows. Whereas the general purpose of the Dallas County Child Welfare Board is to work with the local office and lead program director of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, the FPS, known as Child Protective Services, CPS, to help provide, coordinate state and local public welfare services for children and their families, and coordinated use of federal, state, and local funds for these services. And whereas foster children experience situations that no child should have to encounter and continue to face many challenges in life, including low self-esteem, behavior problems, low expectations, and inadequate life skills training, and ultimately the difficult transition from state care into adulthood at age 18. And whereas the Dallas County Child Welfare Board, in collaboration with CPS, coordinated and sought out donors and volunteers to make the CPS Visitation Room project possible. The idea for the project was originated by Ms. Angela Rivers, the FPS Community Coordinator, back in October of 2012. The first room was refurbished in October of 2013, and the last room was refurbished and final touch-ups were made to all of the rooms in September 2014. And whereas CPS Visitation Room project consisted of refurbishing the 24 visitations rooms located at the CPS office located on Stemmons Freeway in Dallas. The work included painting, refreshing each room, with colorful and cheerful murals, and providing study, age-appropriate furniture for young children, youth, and parents. Educational toys and books were also supplied based on the theme of the room. Whereas the object of the program is to provide a calming, cheerful environment for children and youth in foster care while visiting their parents. Approximately 250 children enter foster care each month in Dallas County, a total of 3,000 per year. The project will serve approximately 900 children of all ages, 700 parents each week, with an annual total of over 46,000 children visits and 36,000 parent visits. And whereas the completion of this project will not have been possible without Ms. Rivers and the assistance of the Dallas County Child Welfare Board, elected officials, nonprofit organizations, business clubs, community groups, churches, and individuals who donated time and money. Now, therefore, be resolved that in the Dallas County Commissioners Court, Herbie recognizes and appreciates the Dallas County Child Welfare Board, the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services staff, donors, and volunteers for making the CPS Visitation Room project a great success and creating a warm and comforting atmosphere for the children and their families. And I so move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously.
Thank you. Ms. Locker, do you want to start?
You can pull that microphone down.
And introduce, because I know it means a lot of people.
Well, first of all, we want to say thank you for recognizing Angela and the board, community organizations, churches, businesses, individuals who gave freely of their time and thankfully of their dollars so we could improve these rooms. 2 years ago, the board asked our leadership with CPS to give us a project, or give us several projects where we could engage public volunteers to improve the facilities or enhance the lives of these children and family who are going through such turmoil. Didn't take long. Here came the project, and the most dire one was the condition of the rooms, the visitation rooms, where the children and their families meet weekly or monthly. These rooms were not children-friendly. They were not encouraging or conducive to calm environment where good conversations could be had. Angela brought this project to us. We embraced it. And I'm sure you have heard, but I want it known that Angela, although she is a wonderful CPS employee, she did this project most often with her own time. It was on her time. The rest of us are volunteers. We understand. But Angela really gave it her all, and we are so grateful to her and to the leadership of CPS. Our board has a great relationship with the CPS organization and all their leaders. We couldn't be more thankful. So thank you for honoring us. One thing I will tell you, I need to say thank you to Mr. Brown from the Office of Budget and Evaluation. He worked with us to make the process work.
That just means he didn't cut your budget. That's all.
We pretty much told him what our budget was.
Yeah, we got it.
And this is an ongoing program. We already are engaging other volunteers to come in, occasionally clean up the rooms, maintain them. If they need new equipment, then they need to let us know. We're not going to quit on this project. This is only the beginning. And who knows what's going to come.
One second. And I want to recognize my appointee, Ms. Mallett. Thank you very much, Ms. Lucky, for always being accessible. We get all of those CPS calls, and always Jones. I'm sorry. I'm gonna give you your mama. I'm gonna give you your mama's name. I'm sorry. Okay.
Why
Okay,
don't we
Ms.
let
Jones.
them introduce themselves after?
Okay. Well, I did see on here, and I want to thank you, we talked about it yesterday in juvenile board. I saw Stephen Crane, the late Stephen Crane's name.
Yes.
And those of us who've been involved with children for any number of years know there's nobody's fingerprints more indelible in this community with regard. There are a lot of people, but Stephen Crane has always been there.
He will be missed.
And he will be, and we've contemplated at the Dallas County Juvenile Board as we complete the new Lee Todd Center to pay some homage with regards to his life. So we just wanted, I saw you led off with that name as one of the first names, and I wanted the record to
And
be
we
real
put
clear.
on the slides all the donors,
Right,
so
Right.
we wouldn't forget anyone.
right.
Because it took a lot of people to make this. Ms. Rivers, you want to say a few words, and then we'll let everybody introduce themselves.
Just want to thank all of the Child Welfare Board, the donors, and the volunteers for their time and effort and their resources. This project would not have been possible without their support. So we just thank you, and I will let each and every person introduce themselves and their role in this project.
Go ahead, Ms. Stacy.
I am Elba's appointee to the CPS board, and when I first came on and I heard about the project, I really got excited about it. And I'm also an Oak Cliff Lion, as is Elba and Joe Wells, and we have Durrell here in Wayne. So I'm kind of standing between two groups, but we got busy and we donated. The Lions did 3 rooms.
Thank you. Thank you.
Audrey Moorhead. I'm the Dallas County Child Welfare Board board member, and I'm an appointee of John Wiley Price.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Malvo, was it?
Good morning. I'm Julia Malvo. I'm also a member of the board, proud member. Thank you, Commissioner Price, for the recognition and also the honor of serving. This has been a wonderful project, and I do give kudos to Miss Angela. Thank you.
Connie Wilson, Vice Chair of the Board, initially an appointee of Commissioner Price and more recently an appointee of Commissioner Daniel. And I really appreciate the opportunity to serve. And this is an organization that cannot have enough support for our children. Thank you.
I'd just like to say a quick word about Lions Clubs. There's one near you. Join it, become involved. We exist for the sole purpose of serving the community, whether it is across the street from you or around the world from you. We do everything for everyone in need. There are always needs to be met, and the Lions Club is always there to find a way to meet that need. So become a part of it. I'm Wayne.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rachel Proctor. I'm actually an appointee of Commissioner Price, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve.
Councilwoman Proctor from
That's right.
DeSoto, Texas.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for serving.
I'm Jackie Freeman. I'm the CPS Regional Director, and I would like to say I am certainly appreciative of what the board has did for the children of Dallas, and they will truly enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman.
PC, what password did you put in? Do you think CAP's sensitive?
Good morning. I'm Diane Wright Jones, the daughter of Mary Lucky. And I'm also with CPS. I'm Angela's supervisor. And when she came to me with this project and said, well, do you think the board would be interested? She presented it, and the board grabbed it up right away, and now everything is history. The rooms are beautiful, but I do want to say, again, as Pat did, to have a CPS employee who works 8 to 5 is one thing, but Angela owns this project. She worked on Saturdays, she worked on holidays, she recruited volunteers, and she was there whenever they needed to come. And so I just want to say publicly that I thank her for conceiving the idea and then making it happen.
Anyone else?
I'm Marilyn Traylor, the budget analyst for the county funds, and thank you, dear.
Oh, Ms. Yolanda. Yeah.
I'm Yolanda Lara. I'm an appointee from Commissioner Dr. Teresa Daniels. October the 4th from 10 to 12 will be an open house.
That's
You can
correct.
come by and see all of the rooms for yourself and come see all the hard work that was put into it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Cussy, John Wells?
Deborah Gray, over Business Services for the Dallas County area, Facilities Management.
I'm Bobby Cheshire. I'm a Community Initiative Specialist with CPS, and I would like to thank Angela and the board because they did a fabulous job.
Joe?
Joe?
Okay.
I just do what Cassie told me to do.
Okay, that's Mr. Cassie? Yes.
My name is Daryl Causey, and I had the privilege of being the president of the Oak Cliff Lions Club. We celebrated our 80th year. Commissioner Garcia came to the club and asked for us to participate. Lion Tassie Simos was in charge of that. We were able to purchase the facilities for 5 rooms. Then we had several days of work service where we came up and cleaned and volunteered, brought some books and things like that. You know, Lions is really an organization in which we do serve. And Elba, it's an absolute honor to have you in our club. We thank you, and I'm sure that you'll spend a portion of this day recruiting your colleagues to the right there. Commissioner Price, we'd enjoy having you there. We have something called a tail twister. That's a person that kind of livens things up for the group every day, and I think you would qualify very well for that. Thank you very much for this honor. Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, like Ms. Lara mentioned, I want to invite everyone here and all my colleagues to the ribbon cutting ceremony that we will have on October 4 at 10 a.m. at the offices on the Stedman Freeway. And for all of you that feel that you can help, guess what? We have other facilities, right, Ms. Lucker, that we're starting. The one in Ledbetter is next. So don't feel left out. Bring your money, your volunteers, and we will make you part of the next resolution. Thank you again to everyone, and I'll see you on October the 4th at 10 a.m.
Ms. Moorhead, where did she go? She leave? Okay, I just want to give our best to your father. Those of us who are the benefit of senior citizens in this community is because of Mr. Moorhead and all he's done. So please give our best.
This is the good stuff. Thank you very much.
And our next item is item H, the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. In discussion, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay.
Okay, hold on.
The ayes have it unanimously. We'll now take a motion on the bids. Is there a motion on the bids?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Daniels, second by Commissioner Price.
Hold on 1 second.
And in discussion, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Next, we have court orders J 1 through 30. Is there a motion on those?
Do we need to pull out 27, Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, I would like to pull 27. I will be abstaining on that one.
Hold on, she got it. She got it.
Is that a motion?
I'm going to move 1 through 30, excluding court order 27.
Second. I got it. We're going to slow it down.
Just a moment.
I know. She has to pull it out. Right. And one thing about Dr. Garcia had put us on notice about 27. And also in the future, because of all of this electronic stuff, we need to put the clerk's office so they can separate it out.
Yeah, I sent it to Mr. Martin.
Yeah, I know Mr. Martin, but I'm just saying.
Oh, you add
Mr.
Mr.
Warren,
Service.
yeah, got to add them in because she has to. Okay, Commissioner Cantrell moved. I second.
That's okay. I think.
Okay, fix it. Okay.
All right, you got it.
Okay.
Any discussion on the court orders? Other than 27? Right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it unanimously.
Move court order 27.
Second. We have a motion and a second. The Commissioner, oh, go ahead. I'm just going to let Commissioner Garcia discuss her, if she...
No, she's just abstaining.
All right.
Right. Okay. Got it. Moved it. Commissioner Cantrell second.
All right.
Those in favor?
Well, it's still not on there, guys. Once she gets in. Still not on there. You want me to go ahead?
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. All right. Motion carries unanimously.
With Dr. Garcia abstaining.
With Dr. Garcia abstaining. All right, the next takes us to our time-sensitive court orders. Is there a motion on our time-sensitive court orders?
So moved.
Second.
Right, any discussion on the time-sensitive court orders?
It's only one. It's only one.
Hearing none, all those in favor? Okay. Have to move in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries unanimously. All right, next we come to our briefing agenda. Mr. Martin, would you begin our briefing agenda?
Good morning, Judge, Commissioner. Your first item is a request by the Chair of the Public Health Advisory Board, Commissioner John Wiley Price, presentation by the Dallas County Health and Human Services Department and Director Thompson.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. We're going to give a quick overview on 3 subjects this morning. A number of them have been happening across the United States and across the world in terms of the enterovirus. We wanted to give an update on our department's response. Chikungunya, you'll hear some concerns we have going forward. We'll kind of discuss that, and then our flu update. I'm going to turn it over to our top doc, Dr. Perkins.
Thank you, Director Thompson. Good morning, Commissioners Court, citizens of Dallas County. We have several issues that are imminently posing a threat to citizens of Dallas County. One in particular will be the enterovirus D68, which has been confirmed within the heartland of America, Missouri, and surrounding states. At this time, we have no confirmed cases of the enterovirus D68 here in the state of Texas, including Dallas County. We have collected specimens from those children that have cold-like symptoms, that have advanced to more severe respiratory syndrome or illnesses, and those specimens have been sent off to the CDC. We're waiting for confirmation. Unfortunately, this particular virus is not easily tested for or screened for in the medical community, so there are several specialized labs, including the CDC, that will run tests on those specimens. So just a matter of time before we get some actual confirmed cases. Enterovirus basically presents with mild cold-like symptoms. Unfortunately, children and young adults with any underlying health issues such as asthma or other respiratory problems can have a more severe bout of this illness. Symptoms generally are going to be fever, runny nose, sneezing, cough, skin rash, mild blisters, body and muscle aches. There's no specific treatment. The treatments that are given are to be supportive to treat the symptoms that they're having. There's no antiviral medication to combat this particular virus. So prevention is, of course, hand washing thoroughly with soap and water, avoid contact with people that are sick, clean and disinfect frequently touched surfaces. Next slide. So as I already shared with you, we've had specimens sent from Dallas County to the CDC, and we're waiting for confirmation on those specimens. Thank you.
Chikungunya, real quickly, go to the next one. We wanted to make sure the court was aware of Dallas County, as the nation has been faced with this emerging virus, as we've seen throughout the United States. Dallas County Health and Human Services staff has begun trapping. We've begun looking at our information regarding this particular virus. What's concerning is the number of cases that we are seeing in Central America. I wanted to bring this forward now as we begin to start planning. We're seeing numbers reported to the CDC up to 50,000, almost 500,000 cases throughout Central America related to chikungunya. We have not, the only two cases, I believe two cases we've seen have been imported. I'm going to go to the next slide to make sure I'm clear on this. We're now recommending that in all major airports that there be signage available as people are coming from Central American countries about checking with their primary physician if they think they've been bitten by mosquitoes because of the sheer number of cases that we're seeing throughout Central America. Ron, let's go back. Okay, in terms of what we're doing, we're looking at our current staffing level, our mosquito control contract. I'll be dialoguing with purchasing. We're going to need to modify that mosquito control contract that we have, and I've talked with Gloria in terms of this process, because in our contract we need to focus on going forward in 2015 on chikungunya surveillance and response, and so we just need to include that language, so we'll bring it back to the court for their review. Before you go there, hold on. The control must be completed 1 hour before sunrise, 1 hour before sunset in order to be effective. The key point I'm bringing forward, and I've already notified the court of this in terms of the legal aspect of this, is that I've asked the civil DA to look at what impact is that going to have on our staff in regards to being able to go on private property. We have to look at, this is a daytime mosquito. The most effective aspect is going to be spraying around the individual house that has been diagnosed with chikungunya and the neighboring homes. And so as we get down to the legal aspect of this and the HIPAA impact, we need to discuss that further. So we'll discuss this in detail, but I just wanted to caution us as we see these emerging diseases, and I find it ironic as I talk to my counterparts throughout the state, and as we look across the nation, there is no vaccine for this particular virus, and so local health departments are going to be left to deal with this basically in terms of their surveillance and control. And so I wanted to bring this forward. We'll talk about it more. This is not a scare tactic. This is just reality in terms of the number of cases that we're seeing in Central America. Let's go to the next one, and to flu.
Well, before you get to flu, Mr. Thompson, just differentiate that there's not much differentiation between chikungunya and West Nile, except for the blood meal and when the mosquitoes basically have impact. And so that's really it. You said there was no outcome for chikungunya, neither for West Nile either. But the difference is this mosquito feeds all day as opposed to...
Right. Now I want Dr. Perkins from a clinical perspective to talk about, when we talk about West Nile virus, we were talking about the bird being the host. Now we're talking about the human
being the host, right. Okay.
So in regards to chikungunya, when there's an epidemic or there's a being spread of the virus among the community, it's due to the citizens, human population being infected. And when the human population is infected, the mosquitoes bite on someone that's infected, then in turn become infected itself and go and bite someone else that's not infected. So this is different than the West Nile virus, which, as you might recall, is a bird disease. A bird that is infected is bitten by a mosquito, in turn bites a human. That human gets infected, but if that particular human is bitten by another mosquito, that mosquito cannot pick the virus up from the person that's been infected with the West Nile. Yes, ma'am.
As in the West Nile, there's a variety of strains of West Nile. Is there, so that you can have a mild case of it, or you can have a much more invasive? Is that similar to the...
Well, in the chikungunya, this particular virus, most people have become symptomatic. Unlike West Nile virus, where we have about 20% become symptomatic and 80% are asymptomatic, don't have any symptom. But in chikungunya, the majority become symptomatic, and as far as the severity of the illness, it's usually going to be severe pain in the joints, high fever, and a rash. But as far as the severity of the disease, it's not similar to West Nile.
I wanted to know the public health impact of the
For you, we
disease.
have a packet that has Dallas County. We have Erica has done a great job, our PIO, who's standing with us. But in front of you, you have material that we've developed that we'll be sending out. You have our PowerPoint before you. We just wanted to make sure it's clear as we talk about emerging diseases, whether we're talking about West Nile virus, chikungunya, Ebola. The issue still remains is that all public health is local, and we're building a robust health department to make sure that we're on top of this. Lastly, it's flu season. Dallas County Health and Human Services received our flu shots. We have flu shots available for adults for $20. It's covered under Medicare for our adult citizens. Our children who are vaccine for children eligible can definitely get the vaccine for free. We want to encourage Dallas County residents. Last year, we did a great job in tracking the number of flu deaths. We had 55 adult flu deaths, 3 pediatric deaths. We're hoping that Dallas County residents take advantage of getting the flu shots now. Do not wait till somebody died. Do not wait to get sick. This is the best prevention, is to get the flu vaccine now. Our issue is right now we have plenty of flu vaccine. There is no shortage of flu vaccine, just a shortage of interest in getting the flu vaccine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Victor.
Item 2 on the budget recommends approval of the fiscal year 2015 Dispute Resolution System Board. Item 3, County Judge, with the court's indulgence, I'd like to take this with item 14 at the end of the briefing session, if that's okay with the Commissioner's Court. Item 4, Criminal Justice, recommends approval of fiscal year 2015 contract renewals with ADAPT and Transit Care. Forensics, item 5, recommends approval of the updated interlocal agreement with the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center for decedent transport services. Item 6 recommends approval of the interlocal agreement with the University of Texas Center at Dallas for indigent dispositions, and Dr. Daniel had a question on that, and I believe you got your question answered on that regarding the number of children deaths. Thank you. Health and Human Services, number 7, authorized disposition of equipment purchased through Dallas County Health and Human Services funding sources as reflected in the attachment, and authorized removal of reference items from Dallas County and DC HHS property records. Item 8, approve the renewal agreement for subcontracting child immunization services between the City of Richardson on behalf of Dallas County Health and Human Services. Human Resources, item 9, recommends approval of the use of the Dallas Morning News, social media resources, and other web and printed sources for recruiting and pool of suitable candidates for position vacancies throughout the county. Item 10, Planning and Development, recommends that $88,000 of the county's fiscal year 2014 ESG funds be allocated to the bridge for reimbursement of operating utilities, $44,000 be allocated to MDHA for participation in the coordinated assessment system, $21,000 be used for a rapid rehousing program with New Beginning Center, $9,000 be used to cover the county's share of the cost of maintaining the client database system, and the remaining $8,000 be used for county ESG program administration. Purchasing, item 11, authorize the final 12-month extension of the statement of qualifications for professional elevated consultant services awarded to Boca Group. 12, authorize extension of bid for the annual contract for the purchase of janitorial supplies awarded to Mann's Distributors, Zepp Sales, Interborough Packaging, and ICS Jail Supplies. Item 13, recognize and authorize the attached list of representative items to be sold at the online annual auction. Jump to item 15, Treasurer recommends adoption of the Dallas County investment policy drafted by banking consultant and reviewed and revised by the County Treasurer, County Auditor, the Financial Advisor, and the Financial Review Committee.
And this, Mr. Wells, thank you very much. I know that this is by law, but I believe those changes have been beneficial for Dallas County and the way that we will invest. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more for the record about these changes?
Briefly, let me say that it was drafted by the banking consultant, but this has had a lot of review, and particularly the county auditor provided a lot of input that we've incorporated her recommendations. We also involved the financial advisors, RBC Capital Markets, on an issue related to the WAM, which is the weighted average maturity for the portfolio, and stuck with 24 months. A couple of the changes are reducing the duration for securities that we buy, maturities at 4 years from 5 years that currently is in the policy, so that's a measure for safety. The emphasis on diversification was added. The Public Funds Investment Act provides for a priority order in terms of the objectives of the investments to be first safety, liquidity, and yield, and we added diversification again for safety.
And liquidity as well.
And then in terms of the collateral, one of the biggest changes, and the one I'll bring forward in a couple of weeks, assuming you all approve this next week, is the collateralization. There was a lot of specific language that was put in the 90s, late 90s and early 2000s about how we do the collateral substitution that involves our office, but it eliminated our ability to use. The depository bank has a system to do collateral substitution. We'll review, we get receipts for the collateral that's substituted, but it's going to save us time and effort to use their system, and it's the same type of securities that are used. So this will be more efficient. Generally, it's going to be, and then finally, the SimPro system that you approved us buying to use for our portfolio accounting and reporting purposes, the software system is going to change the structure of the accounting and the reporting. So you're going to see separated out 4 different portfolios for different types of funds: operating, debt, bond, and special funds for officials. And this policy kind of outlines that type
Puts
of
the
reporting.
infrastructure to be able to do this.
So this is an update that was due to happen, and I very much appreciate the help you gave us with the consultant and the help we got with the auditor's office. The civil section reviewed it and made some comments as well.
Thank you, Mr. Wells.
You bet.
It was time to bring it to the modern times, and I think that's exactly what we're doing here.
Well, I think Matt, financial advisor's been working on this for a moment and trying to,
Yeah.
and so
We have
that,
to.
so anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Wells.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wells.
We have, the budget has 3 budget items to bring up, and then we'll get to item 3 and 14.
The first item is to let you know that we're going to put a court order on next week for the building use personal services agreement between Ms. Woods and Dallas County for the display found in the records building to extend that for another year. Second one is we would like to be able to receive or expend $27,000 to do work on the North Tower Jail fire line. They need to do some existing contract work and excavation to be able to continue on the jail modifications project. We found out 196. And the last item was $59,609 to do the fire alarm system in this particular building. They're going to put a PA system in. They're going to do some security camera upgrades and then do a remote infrastructure network to allow them to silence the alarm if it is a false one.
There's one question, Mr. Brown. There's a brief item on a bid for missing documentation. I mean, it didn't change the amount of the bid, but we were looking for the documentation because the HVAC units were too old, or?
No, the vendors failed to provide information on the products they submitted. On our bid specification, we asked them to provide the brand and the model numbers of the items that they're proposing. Several of the vendors failed to provide that information, so we need that information in order to do a fair evaluation of the products.
Okay, so that could affect the bid, or it
There's
will
not going to change any pricing, we
Anything
just
at all.
need to know what we're getting.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, thank you, Ms. McComb.
Also wanted to go back and really appreciate the attention to the security, to all the people in this building and to the museum next door. We have to take care of our own business. Thank you.
Just an acknowledgement, Judge, and congratulations to Mr. Marvin Earl. He is a new appointee to the Dallas County Citizens Election Advisory Committee. Mr. Earl, been very active in the southern sector, in Lancaster Chamber, et cetera. So thank you for your service.
Thank you for being here.
He's here.
Item 3, under County Judge recommends rejecting RFP number 2014-017-6399, request for proposal inmate phone video visitation service provider.
And I'll lay that out.
Okay.
If we could. I think today we've got a pretty stark choice between public safety. A big part of public safety is rehabilitation and healing for those who are in jail. And a big part of rehabilitation and healing for people that are in jail is making it possible for them to have contact with their loved ones who are not in jail. And we've got a choice between public safety and getting a little bit of money that represents about 0.33% of our budget. Where does that money come from? Well, we've got a choice between equality, which would be to balance our budget through a fair charge to all of our taxpayers, or discrimination, which is to charge families of people who are in jail far more than it actually costs to communicate with them, and then use that extra money by way of commissions to balance other budget priorities. And I say discrimination because it's a small group of people who are disproportionately brown or black, and who are disproportionately the least politically able to defend themselves group of people, by and large, in our community, a group of people who tend to be, statistically, amongst our poorest residents. It's a choice between fighting poverty in a city where we have the highest child poverty rate in the nation, or continuing to exacerbate poverty by charging families more than it truly costs to communicate with their loved ones in jail. So whenever we've got these conflicts, and right now we have a conflict between those core responsibilities of public safety, equality, and combating poverty, and our desire to continue a system that allows for commissions to be charged to families of people in jail so that we can balance our budget, I look to see if there's a way that Dallas County can reconcile that conflict. We've got a duty to keep our community from safe by any nut revolving door at our jail. And we've got a duty to be fair to all of our citizens, even those with the least voice. And we've got a duty to combat poverty, but we've got a desire to continue this commission system. Because I don't believe that there is a way for us to reconcile those. I think anytime we set an arbitrary paywall that is higher than it needs to be, it either inhibits communication between families, or it it forces families to choose between paying for life's necessities like groceries and medicine, or paying to talk to their loved ones in jail. I don't believe there's any way for us to reconcile that. I want the public to understand the extent of what we're talking about here. A few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we talked about video visitation. Had the other side of that argument prevailed, and the vendor gotten what they wanted, and visitation had completely ended in Dallas County, and they hit their objectives of 1.5 video visits per 6,160 people on average in jail each month, they would have only paid Dallas County $500,000 in commissions. But these phone contracts pay Dallas County close to $3 million a year in commissions. And think of it as an iceberg. Those little commissions are just what's above the water. The pain to the family is also what's below the water. It's all the hidden fees that you don't get commissions on in Dallas County that the families are forced to pay. So it's not just $3 million of misery on these families, it's far more than $3 million of misery on these families. Where we got to today, on September 9, the Commissioners Court discussed the RFP in public session through Court Orders 5 and Court Order 37. In a 2-3 vote, the court voted down Court Order 5, which was my court order, which sought to reject this RFP, this whole process, outright and instruct the purchasing department to resolicit and prepare specifications for this bid without commissions on either the phones or the video to Dallas County, and at the lowest revenue-neutral cost recoupment basis for reliable services. I want to make it clear, I'm not saying the cost should be free. I'm saying the family should be charged what it actually costs to recoup the cost of talking to their loved ones. But the court voted to continue on with the RFP on a 3-2 vote. And then on a 4-1 vote, the court voted to pull down the RFP, the process. I voted against that because I would have liked to have rejected the process, but they voted to pull that down so that we could begin best and final offer negotiations with the top, at the time we thought, 5 vendors. And now, in the next court order that will be laid out by someone else, there is a recommendation to continue negotiations with with only one of those vendors, and to seek commissions, to continue charging commissions to families to talk to their loved ones in jail. I believe there have been material changes to the RFP and that we should start over. However, if the court is of a mind that we should only negotiate with one party, and that is the court's desire, then I believe that whether we do that, or whether we start over, or whether we negotiate with the 5 companies that responded to the original RFP, there are minimum threshold things that I believe are in the public's best interest that need to be in that contract. The first one is no commissions. We need to get out of the commission business. We need to get out of a business where we're on both sides of the transaction. On the one hand, we are the protectors of the public, and we are the protectors of those families that companies can take advantage of. Now, on the other hand, we have this quiet deal with those companies to keep getting those commissions from those companies. I would submit to you it's impossible to keep your fiduciary duty to your taxpayers while you're making money off of them with these commissions. The second is it needs to be true cost recoupment. That is, the families need to pay for talking to their loved ones, but they only need to pay what it actually costs to talk to their loved ones. There needs to be no new restrictions on in-person visitation. And please understand the way that I said that, because that's important. There will be no end to in-person visitation. There needs to be no new restrictions on in-person visitation. We need not to abridge those rights. And what we've got to watch for is there's continuing to be in-person visitation, but it is made so difficult and impossible that people don't use it as frequently. We need to move towards a per-minute charge as opposed to a per-call charge. For instance, in New York, the current per-minute charge for a call is 4 cents a minute. Our per-minute charge would likely be higher. New York has a lot more people in jail than we do. But it wouldn't be as high as it is now. Right now, you're charged about $3 a call if the family puts money in the inmate's account and pays a convenience fee. So it's like a $4.95 convenience fee to put $20. That is a gone money convenience fee to put $20 in your loved one's account so that they can call you at $3 a pop. Even this contract, and I'm not clearly, obviously, not in favor of this contract, but even this contract says that if you did away with commissions, it wouldn't be $3, it'd be 47 cents. But these per-call deals are another way for the company to maximize profits, because an inmate might want to call 5 people. 5 people would be $15. Or if we did it by the minute, 5 people would be 10 or 15 minutes of whatever that charge is, a much lower charge. That would be a better way to do it for the families. Convenience fees need to be in line with what credit card companies charge. I just told you about a convenience fee that's being proposed by Securus, the company that is, we've discussed earlier. We're putting $10 to $30 in your loved one's account. No refund convenience fee is $4.95. On $10, that's a 49.5% convenience fee. Our tax assessor charges a convenience fee for you to pay your property taxes online. It's 3%. I'm not even sure why we need these convenience fees. He charges that because that's what the credit card company charges him. But most of the time, the convenience fees that are being charged to our citizens are to give them the privilege of putting their money in the vendor's account. But at any rate, if we're going to have convenience fees, they need to be in line with credit cards. And finally, we need no additional fees or taxes other than those required by state and federal law. And when this process is over, there are documents ostensibly prepared by our staff, but with information in them that comes from the bidders on this contract. And I challenge the members of the public and the members of the press to read those documents and then determine from those documents what the answers to the questions were that those documents sought to answer. There's a lot of, we can't answer questions and doublespeak to that, but it's a pretty simple deal. If there's not a federal or state tax that says you can charge it, I don't want them to charge it. I want a transparent, flat minute rate, convenience fees in line with credit card companies, which are, it's not, the credit card companies aren't going broke. So that's plenty enough convenience fee and no commissions. The one question that we're going to have, you're going to hear several questions today as we discuss this, and all those questions will sound a lot like they're what I call well-but questions. And they're all well-meaning questions because everyone up here has a fiduciary duty and we're all trying to perform that fiduciary duty. But the first thing that we have to look at is what's our core responsibility. If it's public safety, equality, and fighting poverty, then we need to find a way to end this bad system. The questions will be, well, how do you replace the money this year? Because we just did a budget, and if we don't, we got the sugar of those commissions baked into how we'll balance our budget for next year. We'll address that. I'll address that question if asked. But I think my question to that question is, if I address that question for this year, can we agree to end commissions for our citizens? You'll hear people talk about the importance of what we call the user pays. We believe that user pays is a fair thing. So if you commit a crime, you pay a fine and a fee because you are the user of the system. Your mother's not the user of the system. Your children aren't the user of the system. They're kin to a person who's the user of the system. And it's not right to charge them a fee to talk to their loved ones over and above cost recoupment. In short, you'll hear a lot of reasons why we might need to keep doing this, but what you won't hear is that it is morally right or good public policy to do it. And if it's not morally right and it's not good public policy, we need to stop doing it. And with that, I'll let them lay out 14.
Recommends approval of the highest-ranked firm, Securus Technologies, Inc., move forward with the final step of the RFP process. Should the court concur with this recommendation, a court order will be presented for approval during the next available court session. And Judge, there are 2 speakers on
But
these items.
before you just lay out 14 and run like that, we've been advised legally. Okay? So to make it appear as though somehow, we've come to that decision, this court was ready to move forward a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
We were called in the executive session.
Right.
And was told legally that there was a certain procedure we had to follow. And so that's the reason 14 is to go forward.
Correct. And then I had a meeting immediately following that court session with staff and with the legal division, and we all came to an agreement. We felt the best course of action was to continue negotiation with Securus. If we cannot come to a conclusion with Securus, based on some of the recommendations from the court, negotiating points from the court, that the recommendation at that point would be to kill the RFP and start over again.
Would you have a little bit of a discussion about what we're talking about the legal parameters of why we have to, where are we in the process, and what are our options legally to what this court can do?
Basically, Commissioner, the comment that Mr. Martin made is that after the executive meeting a couple of weeks ago, there was a decision made by the court to go the best and final offers from all the vendors who submitted proposal. After that discussion, I met with Mr. Martin and members of staff meeting. Well, I sent them an email saying that the recommendation that was presented, it didn't comply with 262.303 about negotiations with the contract. We could not, at that point, we couldn't go back and ask for a best and final offer. My recommendation to legal is that we continue to negotiate the contract with the highest rated firm, and if we do not reach an agreement at that time, that we cancel the proposal as outlined in the specification requirements.
But we're not at that point yet.
That's correct.
If the court, yes.
And that's why we're here today, with these 2 items. The judge, desire is to go ahead and repeat the whole process all over again. Your item, Mr. Martin, is to continue with what we voted 2 weeks ago, we'll continue the process. And I just want to clarify that Court Order 5, 2 weeks ago, was an order that I supported because, there was the contract that really read that face-to-face visitation will go away. And as you all know, all the speakers that were here 2 weeks ago, that will not be the case. Let me reemphasize that will not be the case. I think we all agree that we want face-to-face visitation as well as video visitation.
That's correct.
On that order. And that's why, I totally understand the judge's commitment to public safety, equality, and discrimination. I think that we all believe, as your Commissioner's Court, that it is very important that we do not profit, on the backs of the poor, of the poor that have inmates in jails.
That's right.
With that being said, there is a legal process, like Commissioner Price and Commissioner Daniels have said, that we have to follow. And at this point, I will, support staff to continue those negotiations that we've been advised we have to. And then if at that time that bid comes back and we are not in agreement about some of the points, with the video visitation, and let's remind everyone that there's a phone contract within the same bid, right, Ms. McCollum?
That's correct.
If at that point we don't believe we have a good bid, we have the right to reject that bid and go back again for a new bid.
That is
Am
correct.
I correct?
That is correct, Dr. Garcia. There are additional negotiation points which we heard from this court. That we will not eliminate face-to-face, and so that has to come out of the contract. There will be no commission on video visitation. That has to come out of the contract, and we will continue with commissions on phones. And that was what we heard from the court. There are some other additional negotiating points that we need to work through. Some very good points that came out from some of the speakers last week. The line charges and cabling charges and things of that nature. We need to work on the best proposal, best contract for this court and for Dallas County, and then hopefully we'll come to some negotiation points with this company, and if not, then you're correct, Dr. Garcia. We will be throwing out the RFP and starting over.
Well, now, that's different than what I heard from the court, because I just heard her say, no, don't profit off the backs of poor families. I'm certainly saying, don't profit off the backs of poor families. So,
But that was
commissions on phones profit off the backs of poor families. And you're saying you want to negotiate for commissions on phones.
I believe the majority of the court said that we would continue commissions on phones.
If I might be heard on the legal issue, because it has been stated that legal advice was given, and that is correct. But that legal advice was based on what the understanding was of what the will of the court seemed to indicate they wanted to do with regard to commissions. It then became, there was indication that the will of the court, that there was actually more ambiguity with regard to what the will of the court might be with regard to commissions. So what we have said is, until it's clear what the will of the court is with regard to commissions and whether or not they will be allowed on both aspects of this RFP, then you cannot move forward because you might have a change of material terms. So I want to be very, very clear that yes, legal advice was given previously. It was given on the facts as understood at that time, and it became obvious, or there was indication that there might have been a misread with regard to what the will of the court was, in fact, with regard to commissions. And so that is where I believe this conversation becomes appropriate for y'all to determine what your will is with regard to commissions on both aspects of what is being sought in the RFP.
If we're in the middle of the process, it doesn't make any difference. If we're in the middle of the process, our opinions don't have any impact.
It depends on what you're negotiating. It most certainly does.
If you could follow up on your legal opinion, because I have the letter dated September 17th, 2014, and you clearly state in your letter that if you follow the judge's direction of eliminating commissions on both the inmate phone system as well as the video visitation, that would be a material change. Is that correct?
Are you waiving attorney-client privilege on behalf of the entire body? Because my communication was to the court in an attorney-client communication.
You just talked about it.
I did not know. What I said was that I gave legal advice based on what the circumstances are. You are drilling down as to what my specific legal advice is. So if you are asking me to tell the public what that legal advice was, and you can waive attorney-client privilege on behalf of the body, I'm more than happy to go down to that level of discussion.
Well, I certainly don't have a problem in waiving, because you can't give half of the answer and let everybody else just sit out there and not.
So is that a motion to waive?
Yeah, motion to waive.
Motion to waive, is there a second?
Well, you can't do a motion, but we can you can't do a motion. It's not on the, I'll waive.
Yeah, all right. And let's hear your whole certainly waive.
So let me finish up.
How many, are there 3 individuals that want to waive attorney-client privilege?
Yeah, I said that last
That's
time.
Absolutely.
Are there 3 individuals?
Yes.
Okay.
With regards to this issue,
Okay.
to this specific issue, so my question is this.
Let me caution one thing legally before you do that. You can't do, there are some real problems with, and I'm all for waiving, but when you understand this, if you can't do a partial waiver of attorney-client privilege as to a matter. If you waive on one part of this, you're waiving your attorney-client privilege as to discussions with your attorney on this RFP, which I am fine to do, but as a lawyer, I kind of feel duty-bound to remind you.
Are you saying that
The waiver is, the privilege is yours as a body to do with as you want. And so if you folks instruct me to disclose fully the legal advice that I gave you, it is your privilege to waive. It is not mine to waive.
And I'm fine to do that.
Okay.
I just want you to understand before you do it.
Judge,
He's a lawyer too, Judge.
I understand. You don't have to educate me. Okay? I'm asking this question.
Yes.
So you're saying that for waiver purposes on this issue, that it's a blanket waiver for all of your legal advice that you've given us with regards to this case?
That's not what, that's not what I...
That's what the judge is saying. I'm asking
No,
you.
that's not what I'm saying. It can be. If someone tries to get behind your attorney-client privilege after you waive, that can be a reason why they could get more information than you intend for them to.
This is a real good way to try to shut down.
I'm not trying to shut down, I'm just,
Well, Judge, here's the thing.
please, I waive it. I waive the whole thing.
Well, so you're waiving everything that we've been told in closed with regards to this case? Is that really what you want to do?
I really think the public needs to know every aspect of what's going on there. I got no problem with it, but as a lawyer, and as a judge, I just want to make sure everybody understands what they're doing here.
Well, that's why I'm trying to get an answer from our legal counsel.
That will be liable, guys. And
Trying to get
I
an
wanna
answer from
warn
the legal.
everybody
The judge's
about it.
concern is correct. Whether or not there is going to be, it can be suggested that there is an entire waiver is, I can't, that would be a legitimate concern. And so.
That's what I'm asking you.
And
Is it
I-
an
and I'm-
entire
I
waiver?
can't- well, I'm
Or is
answering-
it a very specific waiver with regards to your September 17th letter?
I don't know, one, I don't know what your questions are going to be. I can't answer about what might or might not occur in a vacuum, sir. So the
Well-
issue that Judge Jenkins presents is that if I answer, potentially, might it be a blanket waiver? Possibly. I don't intend it to be. It depends on what your questions are, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Well, no, then let me go this route.
Sure.
Based on the legal advice that we've been given on this case, we go into closed, we get information, we come out, well, we make decisions and things are done, then we go back into closed and we say, no, that wasn't right, so we make decisions, then we come back out. I'm not willing to open Dallas County up to liability, so I'm just going to say I'm going to support the staff's recommendation that we continue on. Commissions on phone inmate, on the inmate phones, no commission on the video visitation, and as we get to that point to where they've recovered their costs, those costs on video visitation will continue to trend downward. So and then we negotiate with the highest rated firm.
We continue the process where we are, which
And-
is allowing procurement to
And no
go
waiver
through
of
with the
freight.
negotiations.
Agree. Okay.
So we have a group of speakers on this item. Now, we have speakers on other items as well. So in a
Judge,
moment,
if I can point a word, just because we've had this problem with staff having a clear understanding of where the court is. I think you've seen 3.
Continue with Securus.
That's right.
Negotiate commission on phones, no commission on video visitation, and do not eliminate face-to-face.
That's correct.
And additional, again, there are additional other cabling charges and things we'll work on. But those are the main points that I believe
That's
the majority of the court would like us to
Because we
continue.
have to continue the process.
Right.
and I would hope that the court would listen to the speakers and listen to the public and their constituents before making a determination of whether they want to continue to charge commissions to the families of these inmates.
And I want to listen to them. I'm definitely going to listen to them and follow, but I'm going to do just like I did with the Parkland budget, when I listened to the largest voter turnout in the history of this county, 2008, who said, tax us 1 cent, and I followed that.
We sure did.
That's right. We'll do.
I always
All but
listen
one.
to the public.
But you're absolutely right. We will listen with attention to what people have to say and then make our determination when we do vote on the final bid. But at this point, we will continue with the legal process.
Well, we've got speakers on matters other than this, so we will get to you if you're not on the phone visitation, we'll get to you after this. So if you're skipped past, it's because we're dealing with these briefings right now, but you will have an opportunity to be heard. Bailiff, will you please read the rules of decorum for our public speakers?
All Commissioners' Court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with the provision of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are preserved order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this meeting. Any and all applause is to be kept brief in observance of time constraint. Disrupted visitors or registered speakers may be removed and subject to the penalties provided by the State of Penal Code, Section 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the maximum of discussion of any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
All right, and our first public speaker on this topic is Ms. Leah Lucius. Ms. Leah Is that? That's it. Ms. Leah Lucius, Ms. Leah Lucius. Not seeing Ms. Lucius. Our next speaker is Mr. Josh Cronklin.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the court today, Commissioners, Judge. I appreciate the opportunity. This is the first time you've heard from anyone at Securus, and I'm not here today to discuss our contract or the offer or
We'll give your address for the record.
I apologize, sir. I'm at 14651 Dallas Parkway. Again, I'm not here to discuss our contract, the offer, or anything related to the negotiations with you. I'm here because over the past several weeks, the 867 Securus employees, 515 of whom are residents here in Dallas, tuned in and heard you discussing the company we work for, and in one form or another had to go home and explain to their families what was said. So on their behalf, I'm here today because I believe it's important that you understand that the work we do not be understated. We're a good company. We're not making money hand over fist. Doing the work we do matters, and the work we do is hard. It's hard to balance the needs of a mother who wants to communicate with her son with the needs of a sheriff who has a responsibility to protect this community. It's hard to balance the needs of an inmate who's not been convicted of a crime with the security required to keep a known gang leader from contacting an elected official. It's important to balance security with communication, but every day our employees do just that. It was asserted right here in court that we're making billions of dollars on the backs of the poor. The fact is, last year our net profit was 7%. 7%. It was also asserted that our profit margins are too high. Well, our profit margins are less than AT&T, they're less than Verizon, they are less than CenturyLink. It was asserted here in the court that our goal was to eliminate in-person visitation at the jail. Every single jail where I have video visitation installed today, we've seen a significant increase in the number of visits between friends and family members and their incarcerated loved ones. That's because once it's installed, people realize that, like here in Dallas, it costs between $5 and $10 to park at the jail. When people realize that they can avoid waiting in lines, they can schedule their visitation, they can avoid child care, having the ability to visit from home creates another opportunity for them to visit, and visitation goes up. As I've said before, we are good people and we do good work. Today, our employees serve Collin County, Tarrant County, Denton County, Rockwall County, Kaufman County, Wise County, and approximately 100 other counties in the state of Texas. We build and maintain the most advanced security technologies available in the world, and our walls are wallpapered with stories of crime solved, murders averted, and corrections officers who went home to their families at night because we provided the right information to them at the right time. We will make less than our average profit margin should we be fortunate enough to be awarded this contract here in Dallas. I'm offering those services to you for one reason and one reason alone. This is my home. My family walks these streets and my children play in this park. And my community deserves the best. I am 13 minutes north of here on the Dallas Tollway, and my books and my office are open to my neighbors and my friends. If you would like to find out more about Securus, when the procurement process allows it, you are welcome to come and visit. If you don't believe me, again, come see for yourself. What you might find is that your purchasing department did a good job in administering this procurement. The 515 of our community's finest who put their lives to work every single day defending our community, they deserve the opportunity to be heard, and they deserve the opportunity for you to understand the great work that they do. Thank you for the opportunity of speaking today.
Our next speaker is Mr. Jonathan Nealman.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, ladies and gentlemen of the court, the status of this RFP, oh, sorry, sir.
Jonathan.
2 points, Judge. Number one.
Jonathan, let me start, hold this time. Point of order for the, and I'm happy to waive this because Jonathan represents one of the people here, but Jonathan spoke on this matter on 9/9/14. Just point of order. Does everybody find a waive?
No problem.
Find a waive?
No problem.
Go ahead.
Address.
Commissioner Price, I apologize.
That's all right.
Home address 9047 Guildhall Drive, Dallas, Texas 75238. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, the status of this RFP with respect is irretrievably defective, which the court recognized 2 weeks ago. The actions being taken today or proposed to be taken today undermine the competitive bidding process and the Commissioner's specific instructions made at the end of session 2 weeks ago. The only appropriate action is to do what the court instructed the procurement department and the administrator to do 2 weeks ago, which is to reissue this RFP with clear guidance to the bidders as to what should be included in the RFP process. I know there's been a lot of discussion here today about commissions, and I appreciate that discussion. However, there were other issues that GTL raised 2 weeks ago. Mr. Merriam is here today. I raised issues about the RFP process at the beginning. To steal Judge Jenkins' example, the sugar's already baked in. The problem's already baked into the process. Specifically, one issue we raised was the number of kiosks. The number of kiosks was never identified for the bidders. That was left to all the bidders to guess as to what that number would be. That necessarily impacts the final bids given to the county. You can't negotiate that away. There's no amount of negotiations that can negotiate that away, ladies and gentlemen, because that is a material change to the bid. GTL specifically requested that the administrator provide additional information, the purchasing department provide detailed information about the bid. The purchasing department was either unable or unwilling to provide that information. It's really irrelevant for this discussion. The fact is that clear guidance was not given to the bidders. It's really hard to tell without getting into privilege what happened, but what we do know is this. 2 weeks ago, this court got it right. The court came out of executive session and specifically said there were issues with the RFP process. Commissioner Price, you specifically said to the administrator, we want to see the number of kiosks in the new bid. That is only one. Mr. Merriam stood up here for 5 minutes and provided you information that you had never heard before. Imagine if you had the chance to speak to them for an hour and hear about other suggestions, hear other problems with the bids. This is a flawed procurement process because you have missed key benchmarks in the process that doesn't allow this court to evaluate on an apples-to-apples basis. And with respect to the purchasing department, they should not be allowed to move forward in negotiations because it's a flawed process from the beginning. The only way to fix this is to either reissue the RFP altogether, reissue the BAFO, but whatever is done, clear guidance has to be given to the bidders so that they are allowed to come to this court and allow you to do your fiduciary job and evaluate the bids on an apples-to-apples basis. I thank you very much for your time. And Judge, Mr. Oates is on he can be removed from the schedule. He was on there just in case.
All right.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Mr. Yes, sir.
I think I'm on the list for speakers.
Okay.
Am I?
I'm not sure if you're on the list for speakers, but as a county employee, if you've got
I have to be somewhere in a few minutes, and I just wanted to talk on this subject if I could.
Certainly.
I think what we're missing is the fact that we are a county entity, and we should not be looking at our criminal justice system for profit. The fact that we're even negotiating a contract with someone that will profit off of individuals who have been incarcerated and may not have been adjudicated is inherent to what goes against our Constitution. And so I think, the conversation should go towards what can we do as a county entity to make sure that we protect the most vulnerable of our citizens. And so when we're negotiating a contract and we have individuals here talking about contracts, Commissioner Cantrell, Jonathan Nimrin, the Republican Party, who are talking about issues that are wanting to profit off the backs of our most vulnerable citizens, as opposed to what can we do to make sure that we protect the citizens of Dallas County is unfortunate. And so I would hope that as you continue with this dialogue, that we can talk from the standpoint of, well, a person has been charged with a crime, they have not been convicted, and they need to see their relatives. They need to engage. And what I see on a daily basis as a district attorney in Dallas County is when you don't have that opportunity to engage with your family, it's more likely, if you are liable for a crime that you committed, that you will likely continue to commit crimes. And so I am talking from the standpoint as a DA of Dallas County that our role is not about profits for some corporation who wants to come in and bring videos. It's more about how can we protect the citizens of Dallas County to make sure people don't commit crimes. And this is an opportunity for us to move past what our Commissioner's Court used to be, past funding sources that allow corporations to come in here to make profits off the backs of our most vulnerable citizens. And this is not to say that I'm advocating for people that commit crimes. This is to say that crime or individuals that do commit crimes or the criminal justice system shouldn't be a profit industry. You just closed down a for-profit prison across the street. And so now we are discussing a for-profit corporation to make the money off the backs of individuals that have been arrested but have not been adjudicated. Because all the folks are, 90% of the folks in the Dallas County Jail have not been adjudicated. They have not been convicted of anything. And so in order for our system, in order for this country to work, we don't need to even have a discussion about corporations coming in to make profits off of individuals that we are going to take their freedom from. So with that, thank you for the opportunity. I'm sorry I have to go to another event, but thank you for letting me come in and say that.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Joe Thomas. There you go. Mr. Thomas, just state your name and address before we begin, please, sir.
Joe Thomas, 709 Sewell Drive, Lancaster, Texas. Thank you for allowing me to address you. This is my first time addressing the Commissioner's Court. I was duly surprised to find out yesterday when I was signing on to speak. I was asked, have you spoken before this month? I said, no, I have not. And I was reminded that you can only speak once a month. So much for freedom of speech. So much for freedom of speech. I have spent most of my life in the correctional administration. I retired from the federal prison at Seagoville. I have worked in prisons all over the nation. Federal, I also worked state and the like, policing, teaching school, the whole 9 yards, teaching inmates. When it comes to cutting right to the chase, when it comes to charging poor people to visit with their loved ones, it's a travesty. This shouldn't even be a thought. You are passing this cost on, or matter of fact, you're making money, as the previous speaker just said, off the backs of the poor, who can ill afford it. How ashamed are you to even think of something of this particular nature? These people, many of them are locked away because of poverty, couldn't get good defense. We have a record of locking up people that many times should not have even been locked up. Matter of fact, if my memory serves me correctly, we just had to release over the years about 30. And with these questions there, you're going to charge these people to visit their loved one. What about strengthening family ties? Do we care about strengthening the family, trying to keep these people out of prison? You're going to charge them. This stinks to high heaven. Don't do it. Don't even think about it. The economy is just trying to turn around. These people are already suffering and hurting. As the economy tried to turn around, we are slapping them with the feet. so some petty company or some petty person invested in some petty company can make some money. How dare you to even think of such a thing? Don't even think about it. As I look back on my years in prison, my teaching school and things of that particular nature, I saw people come out to visit their loved one, run out of gas trying to get out of the parking lot to get home, have to go in deeper debt trying to get to the prison to see their loved one. Let's not do it. Let's not do it. And some of you people that sitting before me, especially that's of the ethnic persuasion of most of those people in prison, you should fight this tooth and nail. Should fight it tooth and nail. It does not pass the smell test. This is a money grab. Don't do it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Matt Trenchon. Next speaker is Mr. Matt Trenchon.
Good morning. Matt Tranchen, 1309 Main Street. I don't want to take my full 3 minutes. There's a lot of people here today who have a lot more to say and share their personal stories that will reinforce the importance of this issue before us. Currently, Dallas County has structured its phone contracts in a way that generates a commission off the profits made when family members call their loved ones in jail, which includes those that have been charged but not convicted, and of course those who have been convicted but not guilty. I'm reminded of a quote that I think is relevant to this discussion. Don't tell me what your values are, show me your budget, and I'll tell you what your values are. This can be applied to not just what we as Dallas County spend our money on, but where we as Dallas County get our money from. The notion that Dallas County is getting millions of dollars in commissions off family members trying to connect with loved ones who are in prison seems cruel and unusual. Cruel because many families can't afford these charges and oftentimes have to make difficult budgetary decisions. Unusual because with contracts structured in a way that Dallas County is receiving a commission, it seems that the incentives are in place to give a contract to a company that will make the most amount of money by charging the most amount for phone calls. I think it's important that we look at these phone calls and contact as an investment in the rehabilitation of those that are in our prisons. And this investment will help reduce recidivism, which of course will help save our county money. So I believe lowering the cost of calls and not taking a commission is not only the right decision, but the fiscally responsible one, not just for families, but for Dallas County. It's my hope that when you determine how best to structure future contracts for phones, you do so in a way that reflects the values of yourself and of Dallas County. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Christopher Scott.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Christopher Scott, 2345 Heather Woods Way. I'm here to speak on today about the telephone situation we having in the county, about the commission we make on them. Because I was once put in that same position of being in jail. I was in prison for 13 years. And I had to call my family 13 years on the same commission that's being charged in the jail right now, which I don't think is right. I think we should try to come to some common ground about lowering the cost of telephone calls. Because when I was in jail, I had to call family just to reach out to see what was going on about my case. At the time I was in jail, I wasn't convicted, I wasn't even indicted, but I was spending money calling to the free world to try to get some answers about my case. And calling out to your family and society, it's expensive. And I have seen where when I was out, my phone bill was maybe $120, but when I went to jail, it ended up being $400 and $500 a month. That's because of the cost. That's because of me being incarcerated for something I didn't do and trying to come up with a cure of how am I or why am I in this position. And it's not only hurting me, it's hurting my family, because my family has to come down, gas money, put money on my books to try to make sure I have the right things in jail that I need to survive. And it also hurts when I have to make a phone call and it's like $4 or $5 or $6 per call. and I'm calling 3 and 4 times trying to get an understanding about my case. And I have to call out my lawyer, because calling a lawyer from in jail is not free. That's something you have to pay for. And being in the situation I was in with a capital murder case, I had to reach out to my lawyer a whole lot of times to try to see what's going on in my case. So I asked y'all today to let's come up with a common ground where we can cut the cost of these telephone calls. It's not only hurting us, it's hurting our family also. And it's not only me here today to talk about us being wrongfully convicted and being in jail, having to make these outstanding phone calls. It's a new of us. Like the guy said, it's 39, maybe 40 of us that have been wrongfully convicted in Dallas County. Just imagine the money that we had to spend on phone calls, calling our loved ones, or trying to call our lawyers to get to the point of the case that we're in jail for. I want to thank y'all for the time y'all giving me today, and hopefully we can come on a common ground to try to change this commission that we profited $3 million a year on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. God bless you. Is Mr. Johnny Pinchback, please?
Morning. Johnny Pinchback, 715 Clement Drive, Cedar Hill, Texas, 75104. I, like Chris, was a victim of the system back in 1984, and I spent time. And like he was saying, we spent hundreds of dollars before we even left the jailhouse. I spent hundreds of dollars when I'd come back to prove my innocence. Just a couple of weeks, not even a couple of weeks in the jailhouse. All of my money was going on phone calls, which was expensive then in 2011. It was very expensive. And like you say, this is, you know, what our people, the minority, it hurts them. It hurts them very much. Like when I was incarcerated, there was times that my wife would send me money just to talk with me and for me to find out things about my case. And she would like, and we're like, I don't have money, but she would eat potato sandwiches just to make sure that I could speak with her, that I could talk with her, that I could try to continue to pursue my freedom. And like I remember in 1992, and right now to this day, I still don't remember why he told us this, but there was this major that we worked for in prison, and he called us to this meeting in the barbershop. I guess it was about 20 of us, and he was getting ready to retire. And he said, you know, he said, I call y'all all in to let you know this. He said, prison is not prison anymore. Prison is a business. And that stuck with me. It stuck with me. And that's what it is, a multi-billion-dollar industry. And I just like Chris said, hope and pray that we can come to some common ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James, our next speaker is Mr. James Ari.
James Ard, 5200 Keller Springs Road, 75248. As a side, I want to say to John Waddy that Sarah sends her greetings, and we appreciate the help that you've done to us in the past. Appreciate it. My wife and I, as a personal ministry, visit in a number of prisons throughout the state, from Abilene to Amarillo. We write 14 men and women that are incarcerated, and we visit 6, most of them with a contract visit. As it has been found that visits, both personal and letters, make a difference in those that are in prison. It changes lives. So I want us to be aware that what we're talking about is an effort to help those in prison become better people, to be content and to deal with the issues that they have to do in prison. And they can only do that from the outside, giving them support and encouragement. So whatever process you come about, keep in mind that what the end purpose is to rehabilitate and to help those in prison. We have found that there is a tremendous cost to visits, and it's a hindrance to many that have people in prison. I have visited many times in the Dallas County Jail, and it is not a pleasant experience. The wait, the time, and so I believe that what you should perhaps focus on is a way to improve the time, increase the time for the visit. 20 minutes is just not adequate for a visit, especially when someone has driven a long distance, waited a long time, and then get only 20 minutes. I think also if there is going to be revenue generated by either the telephone or the other comfort visit, that should be segregated funds that are used to benefit and to rehabilitate those that are incarcerated. It should not go into what I call the black hole of the Dallas County budget, that you don't see any benefit for it. So I know that you're going to strive to make sure that the cost is minimal, because that's the point. But I would also encourage you that if any funds are raised, those funds are used to help those from which the funds are generated. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what we're doing.
No, I'm not supposed to say anything, but I'm not going to comment, but I'm going to start dealing with people on language. I know y'all are going to go with that whole scientific thing, but I got a real problem when folks continue to talk. It may be going into the pit, not into a black hole.
Our next speaker is Miss Amber Givens.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Amber Givens, 2425 Victory Avenue, Dallas, Texas, 75219. I currently serve you as an assistant DA here in Dallas County, and soon to be the Democratic candidate for the 282nd Judicial District Court. But I'm not here to speak to you on either of those platforms today. More importantly, I'm addressing you as a resident of Dallas County. A lot of us, it's been in the press. The Times Magazine actually has an article about phone rates in prison, and it's funny reading it as a person who is not far removed from that. I personally, one of 7 children, had a sibling to go to jail and to the penitentiary, and I watched as my mother had to decide on the number of calls he could make on our grocery list, just on the practical day-to-day things that impacted. And I'm here today to ask you, as you deliberate, to think about the fact that you're impacting these families. I'm asking that you give a voice to the families, because I understand firsthand how people are impacted when their loved ones are incarcerated. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Miss Aubrey Jones.
My name is Aubrey Jones, 1560 Exeter, Dallas, Texas, 75216. I'm a coordinator of Miles of Freedom, and we service and people coming in and out of prison, and they're helping their families. And I've had experience with incarceration, and phones are extremely high, very, very high. And a lot of people can't afford it. I couldn't even afford it. So I know how it feels to be, without. But the videos, it would enhance a lot of problems in the system. And, you know, you can't just take visitation, you know, and that would enhance problems in the, you know, system as well. And, you know, it would cause big problems. Before phones or anything came through, there were problems. But when the phones came through, problems were solved, especially contact visitations. This face-to-face visitations are good. And most of the people that come out of prison, you know, we assist them in finding jobs. We even have a show that, you know, take people to go visit their loved ones every Saturday. You know, we do it every Saturday, every other Saturday. And we have a system that we go through, and we have 5 classes. And our 5 classes: motivation, inspiration, law-abiding, enthusiastic, and successful citizen. After these people go through these classes, you know, we'll find them jobs and do, you know, assist them. We also have a lawn service that we have going too, and we assist them as they go through the program, whether we can be positive with them about going to a job. But definitely we are against videos. It would enhance problems. It really would. And I appreciate the time and your, you know, letting me be invited. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And our next speaker is Ms. Catherine McGovern.
My friend told me I speak lightly or lowly, so if I'm yelling at you, it's not because I'm yelling at you intentionally, it's because I have been tutored. My name is Catherine McGovern. I live at 4364 Royal Ridge Drive in Dallas, Texas. And I'd like to start out by saying that I agree with County Judge Jenkins. I'd also like to thank my Commissioner Cantrell for his leadership on the waiver of the attorney-client privilege with respect to everything that relates to this procurement. I favor transparency, and I thank you all for allowing all of us in the county of Dallas County, to know what your communications are with your attorneys on this matter. So thank you very much. Now, with respect to the citizens and the people or the residents, those persons who have become afoul of our laws and are in prison or waiting to be tried. The ones who are in prison have already been given a sentence. It is not fair to their children and their wives and families to be given another sentence of economic choice. Do I buy bread, or do I talk to my husband or my wife or the children? That is something that you all are being asked to deal with in this contract. As far as I'm concerned, because there's not a person living in Dallas County who is not paying into Dallas County directly or indirectly through their property taxes and the other taxes that are collected, I don't see why there should be any charge to the families to talk to their family members who are in prison. I think there must be a better way to deal with this. I do believe that the in-person visitation is extremely important. Everything that I've ever read about law enforcement in keeping, I hate to say quiet, but calmness in the prisons is because those prisoners who have a sense of hope, a sense that they can be rehabilitated, that they are just not throwaway people. The prison system is, I think, one of my the predecessor speakers talks about it as a for-profit business. It is. It's costing the taxpayers of the United States more to house our prisoners than it is on most other or many other parts of our budget, except perhaps the defense budget. So we need to think about what we are doing, and I urge you as the county commissioners to take a close look at what you are doing to the people who are in prison, who are being given a higher sentence because they're being given an economic sentence over and above what the court imposed on them. Their children are being deprived of the opportunity of parental counseling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. And our next speaker is Mr. Damon Lewis. Mr. Damon Lewis. Mr. Damon Lewis. And our next speaker is Mr. Stephen Phillips. Mr. Stephen Phillips. Mr. Stephen Phillips. Our next speaker is Mr. Billy Smith. Mr.
Good morning. My name is Billy Smith, 1126 Glencoe Drive, Glen Ice, Texas, 75154. I thank court for allowing me to have a few minutes on the subject of video taping and telephones. As Alexander from Dallas County, I served 20 years for a crime I didn't commit. During that time, there was a lot of money that was spent while I was in jail, waiting to go to trial, trying to reach out to loved ones and my attorneys. Not so much cost me, it cost my family. I was in jail, I didn't have any money anyway, so I couldn't pay for it, but it cost my family tremendously. In-person visit, I think that's something that should stand, should never get rid of that. As far as the phone, I think it's something that you just do away with, period. And as far as visitation, the video visitation, I think that inevitably it's going to interfere with attorney-client privilege. I think that there's going to open up a door for unscheduled confessions. I think that's somewhat of an entrapment. Just my personal opinion. Having been through the system and seeing how the system works. You close one door, then you open up another door by saying that this is a good idea. And I think this is just another way of saying that crime paid. Just my personal opinion. I'd like to know if the video thing is it due to some sort of shortage of jail personnel, where you have to have a officer of the jail escort you down to the visitation area. Is it a shortage? I mean, they need money to hire more jail staff, or what? But like I say, I just can't see the purpose of these video conversations between families, and say, could you take away my opportunity to see my family in person? And that's something that's personal. See, it's not something that you want to, if I'm looking at myself here on there, I don't want to see my family like that. I wouldn't want to have to reach out and talk to my family member over the TV. Then there's too many things that can go wrong with that, with gangs in jails and sign languages and all that and stuff. It just opened up the door for too many things that that's not needed. And I just want to thank you for your time, and I would like to say that the one thing is that I wouldn't want it to be entrapped by this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Charles Chapman, please.
Good morning to the court. Charles Chapman. I live at 760 Kings Ridge Road in Frisco, Texas. I speak all over the country. I spoke at colleges, conferences, and my main point is when I speak is that we need to keep communication with the families, between the inmates and the families. I preach on that all the time. But I don't see how we could rightly do that as a people and try to make money off, make money off the situation. I know these are businesses that's lobbying for these contracts. I know they have to live, they have families also. But to charge outrageous prices for these phone calls or visitations is just wrong. So I'm not going to hold y'all, that's my opinion. I'm not going to hold y'all long. I just want to share that today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Mr. Ezekiel Tyson.
Good morning. I'm Attorney Tyson. I want to address you briefly, and I thank you for the time. My address is 342 West Montana Avenue, Dallas, Texas. I'm against the contract, period. I understand y'all have to go through the process, and y'all have to review the bid and go forward and negotiate, but I hope at the end of that you all reject this contract. First and foremost, the fact that they put in there to cut out in-person visitation, red flag. That's bad business. That's not good for the people of Dallas County. So if you're going to force the citizens of Dallas County to pay to visit or to talk with their loved ones, that should tell you in and of itself this is not the right company for us. Secondly, attorney-client privilege. As you all were just discussing earlier, it's very important. It has to be protected. This company has a history of not protecting that. It has a history of videotaping attorney-client privilege conversations and turning them over to the other side. We don't have room for that. That will allow us to have defaults, that will allow us to have mistrials, that will allow us to have to retry cases again and again, and ultimately waste the time and resources that we do have that are limited here in Dallas County. And also bidding. I don't know how y'all reached this process or how y'all reached this point with this company, but I think it's obvious that we need more bidders on the table. One contract doesn't fit everyone. And I think a county of this size, with the resources that we have, we're to be bidded, we're to be courted. We shouldn't take the first offer that's on the table. So I think it's obvious that this is not the company for us. I think you all should reconsider what we're doing, take a step back, and go in another direction. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Ms. Christina Hassler.
Hi, good morning. Christina Hassler, 5906 Boca Raton Drive, 75230. First of all, thank you very much for your service. It's incredibly needed, and we appreciate it. It's my understanding that you all did not just waive privilege. You had a discussion about it, and you decided not to do it. And I appreciate the dangers of waiving privilege, but as a citizen coming here to speak, it's a little difficult to have an educated conversation when I'm not completely clear about all the parameters. For example, I agree with Attorney Tyson, who just spoke. I believe there should be more bidders than just a negotiation with one, but I think from what I've heard, that's something that your legal counsel has told you you need to continue through the process where you are right now. But it would be nice to have some more clarity and vision on what you all have been told. In terms of commissions on the phone calls, simply because we as a county have made a bad decision in the past, to have commissions on phone calls does not mean that we need to continue with that bad decision in the future. I absolutely believe that we should only be charging inmates and families what the calls cost. And to that end, it might be an interesting discussion. I'm not sure why there has to be just one contract. Maybe there could be 2 or 3 options, and the inmate and their families could choose what the better, more cost-effective option for them is, and that would increase competition and drive down prices. I'm also concerned about the county making any kind of commission, sort of sounds like a dirty word, like a kickback, on any of these contracts. I'm a taxpayer, I'm a voter here. I'm more than happy for my tax dollars to go to subsidize these conversations. These people are citizens and they deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. I came to be interested in the criminal justice system working on an MBA at SMU, and I attended a lecture by Kerry Knox Cook, who was on death row for 22 years. At the end of that lecture, he said he'd never advocated for anyone's innocence other than his own, except for a man named Benjamin Spencer. I met his mother then in the back. I founded a nonprofit switched from an MBA to going to law school, just completed law school. So this is my passion and mission in life, and unfortunately, Mr. Spencer's still in prison, but we're still going to fight for that. But in addition, we need to fight for these families. It's completely unfair. It's an added punishment. It's not their fault that a relative is in prison, and as we've just previously discussed, most people in the Dallas County Jail have not yet been adjudicated, and those that are left in the Dallas County Jail for months on end are generally those that cannot afford to make bail, and you're just giving more hardship to these families. So I'd urge you to not do the commission to Dallas County, to stop with the extra charges on phone calls, and to come up with something that has a permanent charge. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Mr. Micah Tutton.
Mike Tutton, live at 8047 Westover in Dallas. I guess my first thing to talk about is I was incarcerated most of my childhood, and one of the things that this really resonates with me about is my mother. We had conversations after I got out, and she told me how she cried herself to sleep at night trying to decide whether she could pay the phone bill to talk to me or pay the electricity bill and feed my brother and sister as she was working her way through school to become a nurse. So it hit home with me real hard, and I guess the only funny thing I had to mention is I thought it was kind of funny he didn't mention Travis County. We all were so worried about attorney-client privileges and the lawsuit against this company. But I just hope that I hope the will of the people outweighs the will of the staff in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Ms. Robin Tyus.
It's Robin Theus, 6108 Gaston Avenue, Dallas, Texas, 75214. I come here today not as anything but a mother. My own child got into trouble and got into the juvenile justice system at a very early age. He was morally on the wrong path. During that time, which has been 5 years now, it has been very difficult financially. I've actually given up my job in order to 100% and solely focus on getting him back on the right track. In this, I didn't run into a lot of parents who had done that, who weren't financially able to do that. Now I'm nervous. I get very upset thinking back through this 5 years at how many women who were in that waiting room are sitting there crying, unable to know how to make ends meet, how they're going to visit their child, how they're going to understand a system, a political system, a legal system, when truthfully, my only goal is to raise my family, not to be involved in these systems. It's very difficult. If you take away the ability for a mom to reach back to a child who's lost, you may lose that child over $10. The child is inside not knowing that the child's not inside knowing that their parents care about them because they can't make that phone call. And so I ask that you throw this out, rethink it, and think about the people who are truly trying to get back on the right path, how we can do that and still stay active in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Mr. Blake Miller.
Thank you for hearing me. Reverend Blake Miller, 4 Downs Lake Circle, Dallas, Texas, 75230. I currently am a minister at Royal Lane Baptist Church, but I'm speaking on my behalf today. At Royal Lane, I continually teach the value of redemption and reconciliation. The unjust profiteering of this redemptive and reconciliatory process at an extreme expense of those participating in it is just plain wrong. In the book of 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 3, we are instructed to give proper recognition to those widows who are really in need. The families of those going through the corrections process of our justice system are the ones in need here. And we are called to give them proper recognition. We are not called to profit off their longing for the redemption and reconciliation they need and are entitled to. These friends and families are already saddled with such a heavy cost, emotionally and spiritually, in trying to achieve this redemption and reconciliation. Placing an unjust financial burden of the process on top of that is immoral and in clear contradiction with 1 Timothy 5:3. We must give proper recognition to these families who are really in need. We must lighten their load. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our last speaker on this topic is Johnny Lindsay.
Good morning. My name is Johnny Lindsay. I live at 7016 Beltour Lane, Dallas, Texas 75227. My purpose for being here is because it's not even thinkable that we would raise the price for communication, because we know communication is everything. It's what makes this world works properly, is communication. And when you place a burden on people that's underprivileged, underpaid, and half of them are on some type of government assistance, because these are the people, loved ones, that's in jail. And for you to even consider any vendor that would come with any type of astronomical price, I mean, it's hard enough as it is. Why try to fix something that isn't broke? That's my thing. I have one point to make. I was wrongly convicted here in Dallas County. I spent 26 calendar years in prison. And when I got out, Dallas County did nothing for me. Not nothing. Not a I'm sorry, not a thank you. And to come back and see that they're still sucking the blood out of those that's less fortunate. I mean, it's ludicrous to even consider that. Now, I understand that you must pay at some point, but y'all are the keepers of these people and their families. Y'all should make the right decision. Don't let the vendors come in and then line their pockets. I mean, I didn't understand all of the issues, but I understand enough that it's gouging. It's just straight up gouging. That's what it is. And y'all, as our keepers of the city, should not allow this to happen to your citizens. Because the decision that y'all make is what affect me and everybody in this room. And when you got outsiders that's not affiliated, and all they want is just money, don't bite into it. Please don't bite into it. You know, I mean, it's beyond me. I'm almost speechless when I heard about this. I mean, these guys are not getting paid. And like I said, the families are just barely making ends meet. They have to sacrifice. I've even heard some cases where the phone got turned off because they can't call no more, because the inmate have called so much, and people tell them, say, you can't call. That's hard for your loved one to tell you, you can't call because I can't afford it. I got a choice to make, to feed and take care of my business or talk to you.
Mr. Lindsay, just finish your thought.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I appreciate it, and I'm very emotional about this. And I want to thank you for this time to speak.
All right, God bless you, sir. This concludes our...
Two speakers listed, Judge. Yeah, we've got speakers on some other issues now.
Right.
But there are a lot of things that were said that weren't correct. First of all, there's never been one bidder. This thing was open to the public. We had several bidders. It got narrowed down with a committee with regards to one bidder, and that's the reason they got best and final and are in negotiations. There are members of this court that decided to kind of change what they felt like was some of the issues within that contract. Got that. But, it's interesting as I hear, we just passed a budget, $495 million, almost $500 million. $137 million goes to the jail. $11 million each month. Everything over there, from apparel to commissary. You want to talk about it? I told the judge yesterday, you want to talk about something? Yeah, the contract talks about us getting $3 million. Guess what? People place on the books about $7 million for commissary. We pick up another $3 million on that. Let's cut our candy bars and, as far as that. So I'm saying to you is that, and we didn't just award a bid. Somebody came in and bid it. And so whether it's uniforms, whether it's apparel there, this is the same facility, larger than 80% of the cities in the state of Texas. We serve 9.3 million meals. That doesn't sound like much if everybody buys into the fact that they're talking about the bologna sandwiches. That's not true. We got 1/3 of our facility over there that's infirmed. They have to prepare special meals. We have to meet a certain caloric intake. I mean, people just have no clue. This is a 24/7 operation. And this is just one little part of it. I understand. Everyone's talked about those contracts. We went from $3 million in 2004 when the gentleman was that said he was there, down to $1.7 million. Not this court, prior court. We did that. This is the history of this contract. So because there was just so much misinformation, as always it is, this churning out there. And I understand it's very, very emotional. You talked about the contract being cut off. In prior contracts, we had a third party built in. Guess what? When you went above the average bill, someone interceded and called and said to try to keep your service from being terminated. That was in prior contracts. So, I mean, it's not as though, we've been oblivious to this stuff. It's just that we're just, we're managing. And I told the judge that. I said, Judge, if you want to do let's do a work commissary. That's $3 million. The difference is the Texas Commission on Jail Standards says, they said, you're charging all of these high prices. That's not what they say. They say you cannot do it. They say you cannot do it. They said you must charge a price that is commensurate with what they could have access to. So that's all. At the end of the day, we gotta do a budget. I guess we could do it free. The lady said a few minutes ago, and I think she didn't mean to say it in juvenile. We don't charge in juvenile system. The juvenile system does not charge a person to use the telephone to communicate. So that's not, again, not true. So I think a lot of us agree with you. We didn't want to charge commissions on video, but somehow video has become entangled with the phone contract, and I think that's where some of us are saying, hey, video, we understand, maybe no commission.
Compromise.
No commissions. Yes, in-person visits stays there. I think the Sheriff's Department said $371,000, 75% of their staff, they visit every day except Wednesday, I think, and Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday,
and
Wednesday,
and Saturday.
And so we understand that. We're trying to manage a small city there, and there are some costs associated. I don't know what the baseline cost is for just the service, but I still say that I just wanted the facts to be clear on the record.
And there was another comment about raising fees. I want to let the record clear. We are not raising fees. We are not profiteering. We are not doing anything new. What we asking today to staff is to continue the negotiations to see a final contract that hopefully will be a good contract for this board to approve. Thank you. And I didn't have anything to do with that. Is that it?
No, it said I pressed 32. I don't know what the hell it means, but I pushed the X to get it off, and it won't let me.
That's number 32, huh?
Okay, got it.
Well, let's stop talking.
Okay, got it.
Two more speakers.
Well, thank you very much, speakers, for coming out and
We
providing your
appreciate you
insights.
being here. The facts will come out at the end.
And I want to close by saying this isn't about candy bars. It's not about the commissary. It's not about caloric intake. It's about we are currently making money off of families who talk to their loved ones who are in jail. We've been doing it for years. Commissioner Price told you about a year when it was 1.7, but last year it was 2.8. And it's not about the amount. It's about whether or not it's good public policy or even moral to do it in the first place. And I don't believe that it is. I'd like for us to get out of the commission business and manage our budget in ways other than a disproportionate charge to families.
Yeah.
We have two other speakers on an unrelated matter. Ms. Elnora Lacey. Ms. Elnora Lacey. Ms. Elnora Lacey. And I don't believe I see that person. If you're here, please come forward. But we also have Ms. LaToya Flanagan. Ms. LaToya Flanagan. Ms. LaToya Flanagan. And I don't see that person either. Oh, I'm sorry, you are here. Please come forward, ma'am.
Good morning, excuse my voice, but I also have some packages for you all.
Okay, you'll give those to Mr. Martin. He'll hand them up.
Well, good morning. My name is LaToya Flanagan. I reside in 1510 Dewberry Boulevard, Lancaster, Texas, 75134. Judge and Commissioners, the apartments I live in have health problems that are affecting our residents of Bel Air Place. Mr. Zachary Thomas has visited and also relocated the Section 8 recipients immediately. The issues that the City of Dallas, the City of Lancaster is addressing the issues as of September 9, 2014. The city has directed the manager not to allow any new leases. The apartments gave the manager 20 days to address the issues. Dallas County at this point hasn't done anything, nor has Health and Human Services investigated. I'm requesting a full investigation to determine should the revoking of the release of the Bel Air property certificate of occupancy should be renewed. The manager is harassing most of the tenants, therefore they are afraid to report anything. On August 16, 2014, Bel Air Place Apartments made the newspapers because of its conditions. It seems that the health of the hundreds of residents are going unconcerned. Most of the tenants are unaware of what's going on, and the ones that do either are afraid to say anything or unknowledgeable of the help to get. I've gotten sick 3 times, and the city clearly has stated that Bel Air property has mold. This impact affects all of us, not only the Bel Air residents, but all of us. All the information I provided here today is open public records. Help Downey County's children and residents. It's your duty to do so. If not, point me in the positive direction to get much needed results to resolve the many different infestations, code violations, no hot water, sinking floors, and leaking roofs, among other poverty conditions of Bel Air Place Apartments. I've also provided pictures of some of the units in the apartments, but everything I've given you is has come from the city They came out and did a inspection, and those are most of the violations that were printed out.
No, I have pictures of that one.
One of the packets have pictures.
I think it's probably this one. And,
It's with the city of Lancaster.
Okay,
it's the city,
we got it.
but it's the city of Lancaster, Judge, and I want everybody to be real clear. We have no standing whatsoever. That's the city of Lancaster. And we're aware of that. We're aware of all of it. We have no standing.
So is that not also the county of Dallas?
No standing.
So,
A permanent issue.
It's a problem in the city of, city of Lancaster. We have no standing. It is clearly them.
Okay, so who would I need to speak with?
City of Lancaster.
The situations that are going on, I mean, the management, they come in, like the violations that they have stated that they need to fix, they just paint over them, or they're not fixing the problem.
City of Lancaster. They have city of occupancy, everything. City of Lancaster. We're aware of it. We've heard the complaints of City of Lancaster.
do you want me to give you the pictures back? Do you have extra copies? You want to?
Please.
We're aware of it.
So
They've been out and inspected.
you want to get, if you need contact information for City of Lancaster, get with Shay from our office.
Okay.
I'm looking at them real fast, I'm going to get back to you.
We've been out and looked at it first.
Take the copies. Thank you, ma'am, for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, this concludes our open session for the day, unless something happens in closed, when we come back.
Judge, I want to remind everyone that today is Dallas County Voter Registration Day. I know that some of us will be out in some of the locations. I see Ms. Tony Vickings Pool, Rivellino, everyone from the Elections Department, thank you all for the great job. Yes, we're not partisan, we're in all areas of Dallas County, so all of young people, hey, register to vote, we need you out there. So thank you to the Elections Department.
Okay, I'm okay. And this court's adjourned on chapter 515, recess on chapter 515.
It's one of the requirements.
We're going to discuss matters as previously posted. Any action necessary from the closed session take place in the subsequent open session.
Let's move it along.
You are. No further action necessary as per the closed session. Court stands adjourned.